Welcome to this warmish kind of morning here at Roermond Outlet Store in the Netherlands, where we want to check out those two, the Vivo X300 Pro against the Vivo X200 Pro. You can see the camera specifications now on screen. Look very similar here, but we have on the X300 Pro newer sensors for sure, like the new main camera sensor here and the new 200 megapixel telezoom periscope sensor. And we also have some front-facing shooters, and I think we start off with the front-facing shooters in this Christmas kind of themed Roermond Outlet Store. 4K 30 frames per second now side by side, Vivo X300 Pro and X200 Pro. The X300 Pro has the ability to choose zoom level, so I can go wider if I need to, which I cannot do on the X200 Pro. I can go 1x, which is roughly the same as the X200 Pro, and I can go 2x if I have some headphones that I want to show you, or makeup or something like this for this. So what do you think about both of them? I think the X300 Pro, does it have autofocus? It seems to have autofocus there, where the X200 Pro doesn't. So that's a good benefit of the X300 Pro. What do you think? And both have the ability at 4K 30 frames per second to switch to the back-facing camera, so I can show you a little bit about this cool outlet store if I'm able to read the back-facing camera. So you can see some kids playing, there's like a little slit there, and we have here a lot of nice things for kids to play around here. So which one is wider? I have the perception that it feels a bit that the X300 Pro is a bit more cropped in, but you be the judge there. I have them side by side, so it might be the case. We can switch, of course, to the ultra-wide angle as well, so I can show you a little bit more about here and how it's looking like. What do you think about this one here? And we can also zoom in. So let's try to zoom in on what do we want to zoom in? Maybe we try the Frankie's churros there in the background. So let's go directly to 2x. We go to 3.5 on the X300 Pro, where it's 3.7 on the X200 Pro. It's a bit more cropped in, is it? And then we can go 10x. I have to do it manually because my fingers are too short. And here 10x as well. So which one is performing better there? Oh, wait a second. There we go, 10x. On screen it looks like the X200 Pro is better, but you be the judge there. And now we go to 20x and 20x here. Now it seems to be better on the X300 Pro. So maybe I'm a bit wrong with pressing the buttons. I cannot press the button. Wait a second. 10x button, and let's go 10x button. Now we have it side by side, but still looks a bit better on the X200 Pro. What do you think about both of them here? And let's go back, zoom out animation to the ultra wide angle. I think both are very fluid there. How is HDR? How is stabilization on both here? What do you think about both of them here in terms of videography? And now let's take some shots. Some daylight shots, and do you notice the difference between those two? It's very hard to notice a difference between the X300 Pro and the X200 Pro's ultra-wide angle, because both have 15mm f2 and both use basically the same settings. They have a slight difference in processing, and I think the sensor is also slightly newer on the X300 Pro. That changes a bit. If you look again at the two photos, you can see that we have a bit more lifted shadows on the X200 Pro, and it appears to be a tiny bit warmer on the X300 Pro. When we go to 100% view, we can clearly see that the sharpening, but also the details on the X300 Pro are way higher than on the X200 Pro. So they really optimized the ultra-wide angle for this. It is not only just sharpening applied on a photo that we had from the X200 Pro. This is really more details that you can see here. Look at, for example, the wall there and the little spots that are in a different color, which are almost invisible here. And the same goes for a few other aspects there, which is just simply like the little lights there. And the wood itself, it is just simply sharper, and I think it's not only sharpening on the X300 Pro. The X300 Pro has a better ultra-wide angle for sure. Where it's flipping a little bit on its had is the main camera sensor. First of all, they changed the focal length from 23 to 24 millimeter, which gives you a wider field of view on the X200 Pro. The X300 Pro has a bit more narrower field of view. The rest is almost identical. I took all the shots with size natural colors to make it fair and square, but we have a few tweakings that you will notice anyway. First of all, the brighter spots are much brighter, so I think HDR is working a bit better on the X300 Pro. It makes brighter spots a bit brighter, darker spots a bit darker, so the high dynamic range is a bit better. We can clearly see also when we take out here the sides that the colors have changed. It's a bit warmer on the X200 Pro, where it's a bit cooler on the X300 Pro. The sharpness and detail again is a bit higher on the X300 Pro, but it's not real detail that we have here. It is just sharpening being applied a little bit more aggressively and intelligently thanks to new algorithms. Maybe the new processor is helping there as well. Sometimes, especially here with foliage, it looks a little bit too artificial, too sharpened up, but in general you get a little bit of a crispier shot with the X300 Pro. When we check out the telezoom camera, what I notice is again a bit of warmer colors on the X200 Pro, a bit cooler on the X300 Pro. For some odd reason, this McDonald's Ferris wheel logo there is always a bit of light green in the middle, where the X300 Pro made it the same color basically as with the outside. I think the X200 Pro has a more accurate color because it was a bit more light green. At least it was not so close as the X300 Pro makes it look like. So this is a bit of a difference that we can see here. And the other colors might change. So you can see here, this is one green color here, the rest is red. It might change, it might blink. I was not checking that so detailed there, to be completely honest. At 85 millimeters, you see a bit of a difference there. It's the same difference that we saw already with the main camera, but a little bit less clearly visible. So for example, you can see lots of white little lights here that are almost invisible here. So this is the details that we have a little bit more on the X300 Pro. And it's not sharpening that is doing this, it's just real details that are there thanks to a newer sensor. So this is what and where you can see the new sensor's improvement. When you look at the rooftop here as well, it is of course a bit more aggressive sharpening applied as well, but you can see the little nitpicks and dents and dits and points on the rooftop here that are smoothened out on the X200 Pro. When we zoom in even further, we can see also more of those little changes. First of all, the color again. But then again, suddenly the LEDs are appearing here on the X200 Pro, though it looks way more natural on the X300 Pro, how it is rendering everything, also the different colors like blue, yellow, red and orange, I think it is. Where here everything is like almost identical in terms of colors. So yes, there is not only more details, but the processing is a bit better on the X300 Pro. It is nitpicking here because when you zoom out, you probably don't notice much of a difference, and you really have to search for those differences. And here you can see maybe a bit slightly more processing again on the X200 Pro in contrast to the 300 Pro. When you zoom in even further, you have to zoom into 20x to notice the big difference. But this is the same difference that we saw already from the X200 Pro to the X200 Ultra. There's less processing applied when you zoom in even further, like 20x or something, but more smoothing applied to make it look more clean, where it's looking more artificial, more sharpened up, more processed on the X200 Pro at 20x. Selfies, it's a clear win for the X300 Pro thanks to its autofocus, thanks to its more flexible ultra-wide angle, 20mm that you can choose here. And the only gripe I have, I think, is a little bit with the colors, because I think it's a bit too dark. I like the colors on the X200 Pro a bit better because they're more bright and they show my face a little bit better, because I don't have such dark eyebrows as they are visible here on the X300 Pro. It's a bit more this warmish kind of look that I like personally a little bit better. When we check out the bokeh of this portrait shot, you can see that some of the little hairs are cut out on the X200 Pro, where here they're kept in. It's not the best in terms of what it's doing here, but it is quite close to how it should be. And this is, I think, a win for the X300 Pro when it comes to selfies. Macro shots, look at them, check them out. A bit warmer, a bit colder. The distance between those objects here that I photographed is identical. The colors almost identical. It's a bit warmer looking here now. The details almost identical. I don't see much of a difference between them in terms of the macro photography. Both are doing an excellent job there. And for some reason I have a selfie in here, but just ignore this one here. Just look at this here. This has been done with the humanistic street mode, both the same color profile. And this is just an example of both are not perfect with every shot. They can also fail. In this case, the X300 Pro was just way too first of all, less sharp, but it's also way too overblown there with its classic negative that I chose, I think, as a color profile there, or negative film, I think it was, as a color profile. And the X200 Pro also completely misfocused there. But still notice the McDonald's logo and the difference between the color rendition. I don't know what's going on there, but yes, the X200 Pro has it more realistic there. This is it for the daylight shots. So if I can conclude the daylight shots, ultra-wide angle is definitely an improvement on the X300 Pro. The main camera sensor is a slight improvement, but not a huge. And the telephoto one is just a detail minor improvement to what we had of the X200 Pro. I don't even know if I would give him more points there, because it's just a minor detail difference that you will see there. Let's check out some other shots to see more color differences that I took indoors now at the same day in a hotel. And you can see the color differences here taking with the main camera sensor. First of all, the difference in terms of focal view, again, 23 a bit wider on the X200 Pro, but also the colors much warmer, much brighter looking on the X300 Pro, much duller, much darker looking on the X200 Pro. In terms of sharpness and detail levels, not much of a difference. It's just like it pops a little bit more on the X300 Pro. That's it. And then using the 85mm, no difference. It's a bit darker, a bit warmer, a bit brighter on the X300 Pro, but it's basically no difference between those two. Taking this shot here of this light to see, do we see much differences? It's interesting that I again see a bit much warmer colors on the X300 Pro, and the X200 Pro is a bit greenish, a bit darker, a bit bluish, colder color. And then a portrait shot of this statue there, or hat of a statue in the hotel. Much warmer again on the X300 Pro, where the X200 Pro keeps it a bit more white light. But the light was warmer, so the X300 Pro is more accurate with the colors there. In terms of detail levels, I don't see much of a difference between those two. They are identical. They're at 50mm on both. Taking with a crop from the main. Here also a crop from the main, not a crop from the telezoom, again showing much brighter picture on the X300 Pro with the telezoom, a bit darker, more contrasty picture on the X200 Pro. The detail levels, however, do you notice the difference between those? Nope. Almost identical. Not much of a difference between those. Let's check out the portraits. 35mm is a very important focal length for portraits, so much so that Vivo put it in as a dedicated button, so you don't have to double press the 1x button or something like this. You have a 35mm dedicated mode here, even though it's just cropping in from the main. Do we notice much of a difference there in terms of colors, in terms of everything? A slightly bit better HDR maybe here on the background with the light there, but in terms of detail levels and so on, maybe a little bit more details or better recreation of my eyebrows there on the X300 Pro. It's a bit softer there on the X200 Pro. That's about it between those two. So yes, a bit more details here on the X300 Pro. When you go to 50mm, it's negligible. Again, a little bit less contrasty look here. My hair and my eyebrows look a bit too dark. And when you take a look at here, the same kind of thing. It's just like, again, my eyebrows are a bit too dark, my hair is a bit too dark. It's a bit more warmish and a bit brighter there on the X. X300 Pro. The hair looks a bit sharper on the X200 Pro, but it's nearly identical there, what both produced there in terms of like detail levels. Just looks a little bit more sharpened up there on the X200 Pro, so a little bit uglier, and it looks a little bit more softened there on the X300 Pro. Maybe I had the face beautification still on, but I'm pretty sure that I turn it off on all the phones there. So this might be something that is playing a role there. Now I had it turned off, so maybe it is something that Vivo will change in the future when they will do some software upgrades. Now let's take a look at 85mm telephoto sensor. Do we notice much difference? Again, a little bit more contrasty kind of look. My eyebrows a bit darker there. So sharpening things a little bit more up, where the X300 Pro keeps it a bit more natural, so it's a bit brighter there. And it's not doing this sharpening up so much, especially my eyebrows look totally fake there on the X200 Pro, where the X300 Pro has better algorithms and taking a bit better care of this. Also my hair looks a bit nicer there. In terms of cutouts, maybe slightly, you can see some slight hair that it just cut out there, but it's just simply almost identical between those two. There's not much of a difference here. Both are doing a fantastic job there, and it's just a matter of taste if you like this more contrasty kind of look, or this a bit of less contrasty look. However, if you zoom in even further, 135mm, which is the max in both here, we get almost the same there. It's like, again, this is a bit more exaggerated there on the X200 Pro, where it's more heavily processing and recreating my eyebrows and sharpening things up. It's a bit more natural looking there on the X300 Pro, so slight win there on the X300 Pro when it comes to the processing there, but it's not a huge difference between those two, I would say. But you be the judge there. It's always a bit too yellow, this face maybe there. This one here is a bit too pale maybe looking, and a bit too sharpened up there. But in terms of detail levels and everything else, also cutouts, I think they are identical there. 4K 30 frames per second now here, night time on the Vivo X300 Pro. What do you think about this device here? Using the internal mics as always, walking towards the light. How well is this new sensor, 101.28 inch size sensor, doing here on the X300 Pro? Standing now on the light, how good is the coating on the lens doing here as well? And now I'm walking towards the dark, turning to the light. What do you think about this one here? Did they finally improve nighttime video on the Vivo devices? What do you think? 4K 30 frames per second here on the Vivo X200 Pro. We know already that at nighttime it is doing good, a solid kind of job, as long as you don't move out and move around too much here. Internal mics, what do you think about it? Standing now under the light, how good is the lens coating? We had some coating issues on the X200 Pro. You will be still well aware of, I hope so. And what do you think about the stability? Walking towards the dark, now turning towards the light. How does this perform in comparison to the X300 Pro? Where at daylight they're almost identical, at nighttime they're showing their differences, just like with all the other smartphones, because the algorithms cannot do their magic at nighttime so well. You can see in terms of focal length identical, in terms of lens coating almost identical. They have the same kind of issues and the same kind of way of how they render stuff. The colors are a huge difference. We have a bit cooler colors on the X300 Pro, and it's a bit warmer on the X300 Pro, actually a lot warmer. When it comes to detail levels, not much of a difference between those two. They are identical. Where at daylight, I would say the X300 Pro has an advantage. I don't see it at nighttime. It is at nighttime basically identical, maybe even the opposite, where here everything is smoothened out and here you can see a little bit on the pavement there. Which is the paint and so on. So there is a bit of a difference between those two, but I would see even like the X200 Pro slight advantage there at nighttime. Where I see an advantage is the main camera sensor. First of all, they kind of fixed the way they render the sky, so it's a lot darker on the X300 Pro, where it's a bit too bright on the X200 Pro. They fixed the lens flare effect on the main camera sensor, which is, I think, important. The rest is almost identical. So there are slight differences with HDR. You can see this is here overblown, where this is here keeping a little more of the LEDs in a way where you can see it. But the detail levels are also apparent, where here, this is just a gray kind of shade. Here you can see the singular pieces that make this shade, which is accounts to the better newer sensor. But you can see it also on the car, much more easy to read and see the little details on the car. So this really shows the new sensor is really better on the main camera sensor, which I didn't expect looking at the daylight shots where they are almost identical, that it's so much better on the X300 Pro. So definitely the X300 Pro has here a better sensor than the X200 Pro when it comes to the main camera sensor. More detailed, less noisy, and definitely better also in terms of colors. 85mm telezoom sensor is quite interesting. You see that both have some issues, so they have like this ghosting effect there. Both don't look too good. There's a bit of maybe better HDR on the X300 Pro, but when we take a look at the details here, you can see it's a bit brighter on the X300 Pro, a little bit easier to read, less noisy as well, and the colors are a bit more correct on the X300 Pro in comparison to the X200 Pro. So they tuned this a little bit, and I think HDR in general is a bit better here. When you zoom in even further, like 10x, we can clearly see it here as well with the green of the our car logo, but also the Kick logo, which is red and not this like orangey reddish mixture that we see on the X200 Pro. And also the Teddy logo, it looks awful here. It looks right, and even the Aldi Süd logo is looking better, even though you see the processing has changed. This is here completely red, where here it has red and this orange. So more details there on the X200 Pro, interestingly enough, where the processing here is making it one color. The logo here, and I think it is either but it's like the 1/10 of a second, and here it should be also 1/10 of a second. The exposure time, yes. Maybe I was a bit shaky. It's shaking a little bit here on the X200 Pro. It's a bit like less sharp there than on the X300 Pro. Otherwise, sky is more dark on the X200 Pro. It's a bit more, but this could be also thanks to the green color here. Here it was the red that raised everything up there and messed up a little bit. And now, if you zoom in even further, this is now 30x zoom. It becomes evident that the X300 Pro is taking a slight lead, but it's just really a slight lead. You can see the color is almost the same here as well. Do you notice this is like over sharpening a little bit here, the branches a bit, this here not so much, and here especially the easy fitness, it's a bit more readable here, a bit smoother, where here it's a bit less. It's very hard, but I would say I see a slight improvement on the X300 Pro, but it's not slight. It's so slight enough that it's maybe 0.005 points only, or even less, that I see as an improvement. I still have to decide, but it's not a huge improvement. Selfie is a huge improvement, however. Now both taking with 23mm, you can see how the X200 Pro makes it look like, which is like totally smoothened out, and as if I have a beauty filter on, and the X300 Pro details and over sharpen these details to oblivion. It's looking better on the X300 Pro than the always mannequin kind of look that I have here on the X200 Pro. So yes, I would give it to the X300 Pro. When it comes to selfie cam, and yeah, another shot of the sky and the moon there. Bluer, warmer, better HDR, worse HDR, more noise, main camera sensor, better on the X300 Pro. Ranking and conclusion. TLDR, the X200 Pro gets 4.572 points, where the X300 Pro gets 4.640 points. So we have a clear winner, which is the X300 Pro. It's not by a huge margin, but it is a slight improvement over the X200 Pro. And we are looking into the details right now. Where are the big changes? First, the main camera photo quality, 4.9 here, where the X200 Pro has 4.8. The X200 Pro, when they were switching from the main camera sensors 1-inch type sensor of the X100 Pro to the X200 Pro, claiming a lot, they said it's on par, But in my tests, I ended up saying it's not on par. It's slightly worse on the X200 Pro. Now finally with the X300 Pro, the upgraded sensor, I can say they are on par with the 1-inch type sensor. Not in all scenarios, of course, because physics is still beating processing, computational photography, and even sensor technology in certain situations, especially when it's like not like decades ago that we had this 1-inch type sensor. It is really on par and can keep up with 1-inch type sensors in terms of detail levels, in terms of HDR, and in certain other scenarios maybe not so much, but in general so much so that I would say yes, 4.9 points. Especially at low light and lower light nighttime situations, you can see the better HDR of the X300 Pro, more details of the X300 Pro, and this is really the major difference to the X200 Pro. And also croppability, like 2x crops and so on, look a bit crispier on the X300 Pro as well. The ultra-wide angle camera photo quality also got an upgrade with the new sensor, and it shows in certain scenarios like daylight shots with more details. They are over sharpening a little bit more there, but it is in general a bit sharper, the picture that you get out of the X300 Pro. Especially if you want to crop in a little bit of the ultra-wide angle, you have the ability to do so on the X300 Pro, get a crisp picture. On the X200 Pro it's super soft, so you don't have this luxurious kind of ability to crop in so much. And also the detail levels are not there. At nighttime it's equaling themselves out again. So at nighttime I would say it's identical. They don't see much of a difference between those. But at daylight it is so much so improved on the X300 Pro that you can see that you had to give it 4.2 points here. Zoom and portrait photo quality, however, I was struggling a lot because the X200 Ultra got the same points as the X200 Pro, because it's a matter of taste how much processing you like. The X200 Pro is doing a little bit more processing, or you see the processing a bit more, where the X200 Ultra, same as the X300 Pro, has reduced it so it doesn't look too obvious, but it's still there and it's smoothing things out a little bit more. But in general, the difference between those two is negligible. So 4.9 points equal, even though there are some nuances, and I showed you the differences between those two. They are both fantastic telezoom cameras, and I cannot clearly say one is better totally than the other. Where I can say one is totally better than the other is video recording quality, especially if you like to record also with your selfie camera, because finally the X300 Pro is figuring it out and fixing the issues that Vivo's had with the front-facing camera for a long time. The X200 Pro, X200 Ultra, X100 Pro, X100 Ultra always had issues with stability and stabilization on the front-facing camera. This has been finally fixed on the X300 Pro. Maybe switching to a more wide field of view helped here. Autofocus is still there on the X300 Pro. It's also a nice upgrade over the X200 Pro. The different abilities to switch between different focal lengths, some of course are just cropped ins, is very helpful. But also at nighttime you notice much improved photos there of the selfie cam that help, and I'm like telling you already about the front-facing camera, help for sure. But video recording has been improved so much. Also in terms of colors, finally the mustard colored face colors are gone. Thank you, Vivo, finally listening to eliminate them, and hopefully they can do something about the X200 Pro and the X200 Ultra as well to eliminate those mustard colored face colors there out as well. And we have good stabilization, better stabilization slightly on the zoom, so on the telezoom camera. However, we have a bit of an odd situation where I would just call it a bug. At 10x, it seems to be just cropping in from the main and switching only to the telezoom at 20x. And I was reconfirming it. The video that I did at the outlet store was not the first and only video. I did a few videos. I tried to confirm it, and it was an issue there. Hopefully for my next test, they can somehow fix this issue, and then I would just raise the points there again. But for now, current software state that I had, back then when I was doing this, I don't even know which software state it is because I got an update already. But I did not do the test yet against another phone there. It is an issue with video recording. This is why only 4.6 points, because I think the video recording in general, with the selfie especially, is better than even the X200 Ultra. But this is something that I will at one point figure out as well, and will test against the X100 Ultra as well. I will show you there as well. We have to see how this will develop in the future. Autofocus performance is identical. There's not much of a difference. Both have some misfocus issues there sometimes. This happens, and yeah, identical. Front-facing camera, I already told you about it. Front-facing camera is much better on the X300 Pro. Much more flexible, has autofocus, better at low light. Camera UI, both identical, some slight tweaks here and there, but the user experience didn't change so much. Extra features, however, are slightly better on the X300 Pro. They kept some of the features that the Ultra introduced and put it into the Pro version. Finally, the X200 Pro didn't have this luxurious treatment yet. Hopefully, maybe in the future, they will get some of those features, but I doubt it a little bit. So we have some extra features. Just one new extra feature I can tell you about is like the Ultra doesn't even have it right now. The X200 Ultra is the possibility to automatically convert video files recorded in log to Rec 709, which is super helpful if you want to have this like more smoothened out look, not so over sharpened kind of look, but still want to have a good color space there. It's possible to do so with the X300 Pro quite easy. So let's check out the ranking system. Where does it end up? The X300 Pro ranks above the X100 Ultra here in this comparison. And where are the main differences? It's really hard to find, but there is like the X300 Pro is basically as good as the X100 Ultra. It's just have to say it like this. Yes, some people that have the X100 Ultra, if they ask me, do I have to upgrade or should I upgrade to the X300 Pro? I say, nope, wait for the X300 Ultra and then think about it. And those people who are asking me, which one should I buy, the X300 Pro or X100 Ultra? Then I will say, if you want longer software support, get the X300 Pro. If you have a special case where you have lots of low light videos that doesn't need that you want to have without noise, or you want to have smoother bokeh for some reason with the main camera sensor, or the price is like the price differences between the X300 Pro and X100 Ultra is so much difference. Like the X100 Ultra you get for super cheap, then get the X100 Ultra. Otherwise, the X300 Pro is a good choice and maybe the better choice for you here, because main camera photo quality, same. Ultra wide angle, same. Zoom portrait photo quality, same. Yes, some improvements here on the X300 Pro, but the general result that you get, same. Video recording quality, same. Again, I have to test them still, but here on my first ranking and first impressions, where I have them now seen in the ranking system, they should act like the same. Front-facing camera, however, on the X300 Pro is better. More flexibility, autofocus, and stability, and so on. It should be better. Also at low light. Camera UI, same. But extra features there, the X300 Pro should offer more extra features than the X100 Ultra for now. And this is something that I will put to a test in one of my next comparisons, X100 Ultra against the X300 Pro in this ranking system. What about the Oppo Find X8 Ultra? It cannot beat the Oppo Find X8 Ultra in one crucial thing. This is video recording quality, because the X8 Ultra is just way better there. Still, I think in terms of colors, but also with the ability of the front-facing camera and the switching between lenses is a bit more smoother. Especially the ultra wide angle to the main, you notice a difference still in the X300 Pro where it's switching there in terms of quality, crispiness and detail levels, which is not so much there and apparent on the X8 Ultra. And still stabilization, the X8 Ultra has fantastic stabilization that is not too artificial looking, where the X300 Pro has improved stabilization, but still sometimes has this hiccups, let's say it like this, that make it look like not gimbal stabilizes, where the X8 Ultra has so good stabilization that it's like almost always it looks like a gimbal stabilized footage, at least in all the videos that I did so far. And the front-facing camera on the X8 Ultra is a bit better. I will test it out also at one point against the X8 Ultra, because I think it might be interesting for certain people as well. Yeah, that's it in terms of ranking here. What I can tell you about this. the X300 Pro is, yeah, when you take a look at this, beating almost all the other phones that are tested that came out now in this autumn kind of season here. So the Magic 8 Pro beaten by the X300 Pro, not by the ultra wide angle, but by the zoom and portrait photo quality. A video recording quality, which is quite interesting. Might be also do a test between those two here. And the front cam, not so much, because I think there the Honor is still better, but extra features for sure, it's beating it. But it's so close there between all of those there. Also the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max came also out in the same kind of season, let's say it like this. But you see it's already ranked underneath the X200 Pro because of its really mediocre kind of ultra-wide angles, not really a flagship ultra-wide angle. The zoom is not the best there as well. And the video recording quality, however, should be on par with the X300 Pro, which is quite interesting. They also have this nice extra feature of switching between front and main cameras quite easily. Autofocus performance, yeah, the front-facing camera should perform the same. Don't have the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max anymore to test it out against the X300 Pro, but from everything that I remember, and I have some photos, of course, left, this should be very accurate. So what do you think about this ranking here of the X300 Pro, ranked underneath all the Ultras, also the X200 Ultra there? Slightly above or almost on the same level as the X100 Ultra. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Did you expect better? Write it down in the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.